It feels like for the last 5 to 10 years, the dream car for most people has been a supercharged or turbocharged boosted boy just for all the power it makes. Believe it or not though, sometimes life's about more than hearing a turbski spool or, dare I say, even a supercharger whine. So instead of talking about all boosted cars, today I'm talking about the 7 most powerful naturally aspirated American cars to spice things up a little bit. Let's get into it. Just want to say real quick, let me know what videos you guys want to see in the future and tell me your best, worst, or just funniest car guy stories in the comments or over Instagram. I've got plans for a reaction video somewhat soon, so even if you don't have a good story, tell me if that's something you'd want to see, and if you do have a good story, also tell me if you'd want a shout out or not. I'll probably not shout out anyone who doesn't say anything about that just to play it safe, so make sure to let me know if you do. Also, if you haven't seen the Liberty Drives merch, maybe check it out, and to the person who ordered a shirt, genuinely you made my day when I saw that. I released this stuff with the mindset that maybe nobody's gonna want it, but at least I tried and I got it out for you guys. But as kind of sad as that sounds, it really meant a lot that that guy liked them and the other person who mentioned it to me on Instagram, so thank you guys very much. For the cars, the most powerful ones are at the end, and getting right into it, the first one is the Dodge Challenger or Charger Scat Packs or 392s. These make 485 horsepower and 475 pound-feet of torque. Now, you may be wondering why I didn't mention the Grand Cherokee, Durango, or Wrangler 392. Well, the Cherokee and Durango make 10 horsepower less with only 475, and the Wranglers, along with the 6.1-liter SRTs made before 2015, make even less with only 470. Along with the power in these comes a decent amount of beefage compared to other cars on the list. Challengers weigh around 4,200 pounds, and these Chargers are around 4,400 pounds. Now, that might seem like a lot, but these cars obviously weren't made with cornering in mind. They're made to be cruised around in and for people to just have a fun, casual time driving. They do have the slowest 0 to 60 time here, but I think that's mainly just due to the extra weight tacked on. Second for today is the C8 Corvette Stingray with 490 horsepower. That's not too much better than the 485 from the 392 engines, but along with the less weight, the dual clutch transmission, and more performance-based configuration, these hit 60 in a way quicker 2.8 seconds. They also look pretty damn cool, more so in the back in my opinion, because I'm not completely sold on the base model front end or the sound of them, honestly. I've said this before, but they just don't have an exciting sound dynamic like most other V8s have. It's like each other engine, from Hemis to Coyotes to LT4s or even slightly modded LT1s, have some sound that's all their own, and it's like a heart-racing, pant-ruining wow factor, but these just don't do that for me. I've heard pretty much straight-piped ones launch before, and that was definitely loud and cool. I wouldn't say it sounded all that exciting to me, though. I know they're obviously not slow or anything, but the engine notes sounded kinda lazy-ish, if that makes sense. Like, it didn't scream at the top. It sounded almost the same as it revved up the whole way. I guess to each their own though, and it doesn't really matter if I like them or not, because I can't even afford one either way. But if any companies are out there looking for some new sponsorships to get me a new Corvette,
I am once again asking for your financial support.
Speaking of Corvettes I want, the next car on the list is the C6 Z06 made between 06 and 2013 with 505 horsepower. This power comes from a big ol' 7-liter V8, and pairing that with the fact that they weigh less than 3,200 pounds gets these from 0 to 60 miles an hour in only 3.5 seconds as tested by Motor Trend. I've talked about these a little in another video, but I feel like they're just badass cars that probably have one of the top 5 sounding V8 engines out there. I loved that dude in Blue's review of one of these, and the last time I talked about these, the owner of the car he reviewed actually saw the video and commented, which was really freaking cool. If you're curious what that dude in blue had to say and you want to hear what I'm talking about, even though videos never do car sounds justice, I recommend checking that one out. The Z06s also have what I think is the perfect amount of styling improvements over the base C6, and for that price, it's so hard to beat the numbers these things can hit. Fourth for today is the 2015 to 2022 GT350. These have 5.2-liter flat-plane crank V8s making 526 horsepower and 429 pound-feet of torque. I think these look awesome, and some of them sound really cool, but this is another car on the list that I'm not super crazy about the sound. It's not bad, but it's just not really my taste, even with the stuff they did to try to bring a little more of the classic V8 sound. I don't really know how to even try to explain what it reminds me of, but it's almost like a nasally sound somehow, if that makes makes any sense. It's a little too much like purring for me, I guess. It's like a weird nasally cat with a weird purr. You know what I mean? This might not be really making any sense, but somebody's gonna know what I mean. Again, I'm not saying they sound bad, and some of the modified exhausts on these sound insane. I guess it's just another to each their own situation. I do really like the way these look compared to other Mustangs though, especially the Rs, which also have a slightly faster 0 to 60 time of 3.9 seconds, while the normal 350s do a 4.3. Number 5 on the list is a slightly rarer one, at least from what I see, and it's the 4th gen Dodge Viper SRT10 made from '08 to 2010. Not only do these Vipers look awesome, but they also make 600 horses and 560 pound-feet of torque from an 8.4 liter V10 that sounds wild. The 3rd gens were pretty similar to the 4th gens looks-wise, but the 4th gens got an awesome vented hood. It's not a huge difference on paper, but I feel like it does have a pretty big impact on the looks. Other than looks though, there was a big update from the 3rd gens to the 4th gens. The 4th's got a new transmission, extra liter in the engine, exhaust system, electrical system, and some other things. The engine stuff bumped the power up from the previous 510 to that magic 600 mark I'm talking about. If you look at these 2010s though, and your first thought is
this some sort of peasant joke that I'm too rich to understand?
Then you may be more interested in the even better 2013 to 2017 Vipers. These still have 8.4 liter V10 engines, but they're making 645 horsepower instead of that other lame 600. Now these ones are already pretty damn expensive, but if you want to spend even more money for that 645 horsepower, you could go for the ACR trim. Alright, honestly, I already knew the 5th gen Vipers were expensive and car prices are higher now than in the past, but I was genuinely really shocked when I saw how much both the base models and the ACR trims now. I guess I could tell you for however long I want how great these cars seem, but if you want to actually get an idea for how popular, sought after, and just badass these are, just look at the prices they're sitting at. The 7th and most powerful naturally aspirated American car is the new C8 Z06 Corvette. This thing makes 670 horsepower from a new 5.5 liter flat plane crank engine called the LT6. The torque, which is only 470, actually doesn't compare the same way to the other cars. This is kind of similar to the GT350s I mentioned with 429 pound-feet of torque, largely due to the flat plane crank setup. The torque from these 500 and 600 horsepower engines is even lower than the 392 engines I talked about first on the list. That being said, the C8Z has an 8600 RPM redline and will hit 60 in an insane 2.6 seconds, which is 0.2 of a second faster than even the McLaren 720S. It feels like since the C8 was first introduced, a lot of things have changed for the Corvette, and I think I've said this in a couple of the C8 videos, but as much as I love the C6 and 7s, I've been pretty excited to see where the Corvette's going. I know not everybody's going to agree with everything they do, and I'll definitely be less interested in ever owning certain versions, but I can't wait to see what comes next. I'm hoping to get to hear a Z06 trim in person soon, and I think some of them are going to sound nuts when aftermarket exhausts become more available. I also think the appearance changes for the Z06 version made an awesome difference, especially on the front ends, which I mentioned I wasn't all that crazy about. Either way though, really cool car in my opinion. I love what they've made it in the past, what they're making now, and I'm ready to see what they come out with next, as long as it's not a Corvette SUV. An honorable mention for the list is the naturally aspirated Saleen S7 and the 2019 to 2020 Mustang Bullets. I actually didn't originally know that they made any naturally aspirated S7s, but I really didn't think these should be added because they apparently made even less than 100 S7s total. The Bullets didn't make the top 7 cut power-wise, but since they're at only 5 horsepower less than the 392s and it's more unique than just saying the 2022 Mustang GT, I thought it was worth mentioning. If you noticed I forgot any cars that should be here or one of these is really your favorite, toss it down in the comments to let me know. Also, please make sure to put your best car experience stories, whether they're good, bad, funny, weird, or uncomfortable, along with if you'd want a shout out. If I see a decent amount of stories or people saying that they'd want to see that, I'd like to make it happen within the next like 3 videos, but it'll be a slightly different format for me, so I'll have some things to work out. Who knows, you guys might even have to look at my terrifying non-moneymaker. If there are other videos you'd want to see too, or you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments or send them over to me over Instagram. As always, thank you guys very much for watching. I appreciate the support from every single one of you. I'll see you all in the next one. Have a great day.